Towards Zero is a novel written by Christie in 1944, and it is a novel that features neither Poirot nor Miss Marple. It does feature Superintendent Battle, and in fact this is the last appearance we will have of Battle in a Christie novel. The title comes from the whole premise of the novel, in this case the idea is that murder is, in most mystery novels, murder is where you start and then you spend the rest of the novel investigating the murder and solving it. But the philosophy of this novel is that the groundwork for a murder takes place years, months if not years before the actual crime itself, and a certain set of particular circumstances, particular people, and places all converge at this one point, at this one time, and that's called 0 hour in Christie's novel here. And the idea is introduced by a Mr. Treves, who is a lawyer who incidentally becomes a victim in the story. He says this, he says, "The murder is the end. The story begins long before that, years before sometimes, with all the causes and events that bring certain people to a certain place at a certain time on a certain day, all converging towards a given spot. And then the time comes. Over the top, 0 hour." Now, this novel centers around the rather strange domestic situation of Neville Strange, who is a former tennis pro, quite an athletic individual. And in particular, the source of tension in this novel comes from the relationship he has with his current wife and with his ex-wife. He is married, and he runs into his first wife in London and starts just casually seeing her and talking with her. Nothing romantic, but he wishes to have a reconciliation with her. And beyond that, he wants his former wife and current wife to become friends. And so we have here kind of course, you're going to see some instant tension. The current wife is very jealous of his ex-wife, and the ex-wife, Audrey Strange, doesn't really want to go along with this idea, but is a little more compliant, or is at least willing to try it. And these people all decide to meet at Neville's aunt's house, Lady Tressilian, who is an elderly invalid aunt of his. Now, while Neville and his wives are down at Lady Tressilian's house, a couple things happen. First of all, Kay Strange, his current wife, gets to kind of the boiling point. She can't take it anymore. She really resents having Audrey there. She feels that Audrey is trying to worm her way back into Neville's affections and to win him back. Audrey would rather just kind of shrink into the background and not really be observed. And then the other thing that happens is that Lady Tressilian really, she's rather old-fashioned, and she doesn't like this idea of this reconciliation. She's very happy with Audrey, his former wife, and doesn't really like Kay, but accepts her in a kind of a cold manner. And you know, she has them both down every year to visit her, but always at different times. So she gets very angry with Neville about bringing them all under the same roof and kind of causing this to come to a head. And so this is where things start to happen. Neville gets in a fight with his aunt, storms off, and unfortunately that happens to be the night that is when the murderer strikes. And we find Lady Tressilian dead the next morning. She's been apparently struck by one of Neville's golf clubs, which has some blood and hair on it. And her maid is also has been drugged, and so she, even if Lady Tressilian had time to ring her bell for her maid, the maid would never have heard it because she was you know, under the influence of this sleeping drug. So this is when the novel really begins to pick up. A lot of the previous stuff is set up. Just prior to this, Treves, the old attorney who has told this idea of this 0 hour and how things culminate in the murder. He dies in rather an odd way. He's brought back to his hotel. He's an older gentleman with some heart problems. He gets to his hotel and the elevator is out of service, so he's got to walk up several flights of stairs. He gets up to his room and dies from heart problems. And later, when Superintendent Battle and the other people involved in the case come to investigate this death, they find out that there was absolutely nothing wrong with the elevator, and the hotel proprietress, she doesn't understand why that sign was even put up, because it was in perfect working order. So obviously someone has tried to cause this situation that indeed did happen with Treves. And this is partly precipitated by the fact that Treves reveals a very interesting story about a boy playing bows and arrows with a boyhood friend of his, and what happens is there's a resulting accident, and this boy shoots the other boy and kills him with the arrow. This is an 8-year-old boy, something like this. What happens later is it's revealed that someone had seen this boy in the woods practicing beforehand, and basically it was an 8-year-old boy plotting the murder of his childhood friend. And that the idea is that it's kind of like this 0 hour, that these circumstances, these personal histories of people play into the makeup of the adult. And so he mentions how this person is still at large. He's been, he went through his psychological rehabilitation, was never jailed, of course, because he was too young, and is just out there free. And but that those desires to kill still linger within him. And this, of course, is why he's been killed. So we've got a lot of interesting things happening in the novel. Now, Superintendent Battle uses some interesting methods in this. We find him in a domestic problem at the beginning of the novel. His daughter is at this kind of private girls' school, and she's been accused of theft, and in fact she's admitted to stealing some various small articles from other classmates. And he goes to visit the headmistress of the school, who is very kind and what we'd say today maybe very PC about things, and takes a modern approach to children who misbehave. And so she doesn't blame the girl, but she just talks about maybe some other issues that could be at stake, and that they want to help her. And Battle is rather old-fashioned, and so he just takes his daughter aside and says, "Hey, why did you admit to this? You didn't take these, did you?" And of course his daughter admits right away that she did not. He finds out who did it, and tells the headmistress that he's withdrawing his daughter from this kind of crazy modern thinking school. And he applies kind of his knowledge of people's behavior and what they are likely or more likely or less likely to do, and he applies this kind of situation that happened with his daughter to the investigation of the murder of Lady Tressilian. And in his case, it's very successful because he does figure out the murderer. Now, does this whole 0 hour thing, does it play out well? Does it work? I would say it's somewhat successful. The beginning part may be a little slow for readers. I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5.